2025 marks the 70th anniversary of the television show The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Richard Green. You can hear an in-depth discussion of the show on episode 27 of Into the Greenwood. It is genuinely one of my favorite episodes we have ever done. To celebrate the 70th anniversary, we'll be releasing a few of these sort of mini reviews of various episodes alongside several friends of the show throughout the rest of 2025. I hope you enjoy these little jaunts into the Sherwood Forest of yesteryear.
Robin Hood, riding through the glen. Robin Hood, with his band of men.
So I've got with me here Ben Curley, who's appeared a couple of times on some Splitting Arrows episodes. Thanks for joining us here, Ben.
Oh, happy to be here.
So is this the first time you've seen any of the Adventures of Robin Hood?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, and so I put out on the Robin Hood Discord that, people were welcome to come and join me for these little mini episodes where we watch an episode or two of the show and discuss them. And Ben volunteered, and Ben specifically said that he wanted an episode about sword fighting. Why did you want one about sword fighting, Ben?
That's something that's actually I've been meaning to get a bee in my bonnet about, going and like reviewing Robin Hood sword fights. It's a thing I've been meaning to do for a while, just as a supplementary to our Discord and our general Robin Hood fandom, because it's something I enjoy doing. I like sword fighting. I like TV and movies. Sometimes those things don't match up well. As I've mentioned in some of my other episodes, sometimes the sword fighting is bad.
Yes.
And I do find, like, when you get into the older, 30s, 40s, 50s, you get a lot of, okay, it's fencing. It's not era appropriate sword fighting. But
Yeah.
I wanted to see, hey, what would this 50s TV show have that is different than the other TV show we watched that was turned into a pilot? Was there was the Wolf's Head from 80,
Tales
there
of
was
Robin
the other
Hood.
one was and that was also the 50s.
That might have been late 40s even,
because neither of those had any sword fighting worth writing home about. In fact, it was usually quite bad. And I was, as somebody
those were quite bad.
As somebody who likes sword fighting,
51 Tales of
51.
Robin Hood with Robert Clark as Robin Hood.
Otherwise, not bad. It's just, hey, Robin Hood's go-to move is jump on table, and like,
he did that a couple times in that movie.
Yeah,
yes.
It has a place, but it also kind of puts you at a real disadvantage. Like, they can just stab you in the foot real easy. And as somebody who's spent a lot of time sword fighting, it's something, I can talk to more than compared to some of the other people we know who are much better archers. Mike has spent a lot more time shooting a bow than I have, but I've spent a lot more time, sword fighting.
Swinging
and so it's something I like to talk about, and it's something I like watching in movies, and hopefully it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It doesn't most of the time, but.
Right. So, so that was your request, an episode that focused on sword fighting. And so I picked The Edge and the Point, which comes from season 4, episode 21, one of the last episodes of the show. And it features a former crusader named Boland, who has basically come to England to trade his skills as a swordsman to be essentially a bounty hunter, capturing outlaws such as Robin Hood. He quickly disarms a Will Scarlet who tries to rob him in the forest, and then later has a long extended duel with Robin Hood where they have a certain sort of respect and appreciation for each other. Robin tries repeatedly to recruit this guy to his band in a very it worked with Little John, of course it'll work with this guy, but
no, I lose to you in a fight and then you join my team.
Exactly. But he's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go over to the sheriff of Nottingham and get paid and for trying to capture you.
Yeah.
And he goes and becomes a member of the sheriff's guard with the idea that he would then basically become a bounty hunter working for the sheriff. And the sheriff has another idea where the sheriff's like, no, you teach me how to sword fight as well as you do, and then I'll be able to beat Robin Hood. I'll still pay you the reward money, but then I'll get the glory of having defeated Robin Hood. So they arrange a duel between the sheriff, technically the deputy sheriff, and Robin Hood. Robin Hood still wins, though, even though the deputy, had been tutored by Master Swordsman Boland. But then by that point, Boland has been so disenchanted by the sheriff, has seen what a louse he is, decides to join up with Robin Hood after all.
Now, I at a certain point during their duel, Robin and Boland are accosted by the lieutenant to the deputy sheriff, and I'm just like, how deep does this, Robin Hood chasing bureaucracy go? Um, is this the sort of thing where there was a sheriff of Nottingham character, and then like he couldn't show up for season 4, so we got the deputy sheriff who's the same guy but
Yes,
distinct? Or okay.
basically, for the first 3 seasons of the show, and for a little bit of season 4, Alan Wheatley plays the Sheriff of Nottingham, does a brilliant job. I love him as the Sheriff of Nottingham. But for the fourth season, they introduced John Arnott as the Deputy Sheriff of Nottingham, who's trying to become the sheriff. And he's really the main villain for most of that season. And is more ruthless a character. So it could have been, I don't know if Alan Wheatley was unavailable or they just wanted to mix things up a little bit, have a character like a new villain to freshen things up, have him be somebody that was a little bit more ruthless than the Alan Wheatley sheriff had been, a little bit more despicable just as a change of pace.
Mhm.
Although interestingly, John Arnett's whole thing as a deputy sheriff is that he wants to become the real sheriff, and he succeeds because the actor goes on to play the sheriff of Nottingham in a later movie.
All right.
Yeah, in The Challenge of Robin Hood, or A Challenge
Yeah,
of
it
Robin
was
Hood. Yeah.
just it was like, I don't know why you like, if you're doing that, you don't just write the other sheriff off, like give him a promotion or something. I guess, because it's not like you have to worry about reruns or something. This is the 50s. You're not thinking about that. But it was the sort of thing where it's okay, the lieutenant to the deputy sheriff, and he's got a subordinate, and I'm just like, how big is the the org chart at Nottingham?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a thing with an in-story reason with the actual sheriff being away. He had been like summoned to the court of Prince John or something. So he was away, the deputy was in charge, but the deputy was still angling for his job.
Yeah, I mean, he made that all very clear. Like, hey, if I kill Robin, I can get made sheriff. If you kill Robin, what,
Hmm.
you're still you. I can get promoted, and then you can be my deputy sheriff.
Yeah, so this episode that we mentioned was directed by Gordon Perry. It was written by Raymond Bowers. Of course, stars Richard Green, who we mentioned, and we mentioned John Arnett as the deputy sheriff. Because this is in the later 2 seasons, it has Patricia Driscoll as Maid Marian, who has some very good moments. If we were doing our splitting arrows questions, including most impressive feat of archery, she's
Oh
got
yeah, I
an
wrote that
amazing
down.
shot where she shoots a sword out of somebody's hand.
Yes.
That would have won that easily. And the main co-star for this episode, though, is the actor who plays Boland, who is Michael Goff. Do you recognize that actor, Ben?
He looked familiar. I couldn't place anywhere.
He is most familiar to modern audiences as the actor who played Alfred in both the Tim Burton and Schumacher Batman films.
Yes, yes, he is.
Yeah, that is what he is known as. So he's known for being this old man, but he had really quite a career as an actor and was in a number of like swashbuckling films too. He had this was not the first thing I've seen him in where he was swinging a sword.
like I said, this was absolutely of the time stage combat. I could see 1, 2, 4, 5, the counting out
Yes.
the guards. There were a few bits that absolutely I was just like, ew, no, never do that. One bit, especially in the final fight between the deputy sheriff and Robin, where Robin spins by putting his back to the sheriff
Yes.
and like to spin past him, and I'm just like, he'd just stab you. You
Uh-huh.
don't do that.
Yes, that has always been one of my bugaboos. So I used to do stage combat as well, not as much as you, and it's been a long, long time for me. But I was once in a class around the same time I was doing this in college, and we were analyzing the movie Gladiator because that had just come out and was a big movie, and they were trying to like talk up the fights. And I remember dissecting in class. I don't even remember what class it was. It was something about medieval history and medieval films. It might have been a King Arthur class or something. I don't know why we were talking about Gladiator, probably because it was just the big historical
Yeah,
spectacle
but
that
that's
was new at the
antiquity. That's
time.
not medieval.
But there's, talking about that same thing of the spinning move when you're sword fighting somebody that looks flashy, but is a terrible idea in an actual fight.
I mean, there are times you can do it, like if your sword is in contact and I keep pressure the entire time as I spin through, like then I'm not, worried, like, is that sword going to be somewhere I don't expect it to be? But even then, it's really easy to push somebody over when they're not facing you. Like, uh, I was also really surprised. So we have our bit like after apparently they fight for an hour,
Yeah,
which
they don't look like it.
no, that sword fighting is exhausting, everybody. It's
Yes,
real
I
tiring.
I was at a HEMA event today, and believe me, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bits whenever I'm teaching stage combat to kids is I go, "How long do you think the average sword fight lasts?" And kids are like, "I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes." I'm like, about 30 seconds. Sword fights don't last that long.
Yeah.
Uh, the way I like to explain it to people is, all right, you've got UFC fighters. These are guys who spend all day, every day, training to punch people and not get punched. Every UFC fight, somebody is punched within 15 seconds. If that's
Hmm.
a sword, your day is done.
Yeah.
So you think about it as hey, what happens if the first punch in a UFC fight always or almost always ended the fight? That's about how long a sword fight can last.
Yep.
So for you to be fighting for an hour, like that's a lot.
Right. And they were unarmored, which,
Mhm.
you could, armor will definitely wear you out if you're
Oh,
wearing
sure.
that. But also, that absorbs blows. The idea that, like, nobody would actually land a hit on anybody else.
At the
Uh,
very least, they would be like all cut up.
yeah. But it is very storybook.
Oh, it's very heroic and Robin Hoody. Yeah.
Yeah, like even in the jest of Robin Hood, we get Little John and the cook from the sheriff's house, and I think I forget how it goes in the jest, but I know in later stories like Howard Pyle, it's like they fought, all morning. The idea that they're for hours actively combating one another is an insane notion.
That allowed me to make that mental leap because then they are now accosted by the lieutenant to the deputy sheriff and his henchman, and the henchman just rushes Boland and knocks him over. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna say it's because he was really tired from fighting Robin Hood for an hour.
I actually kind of love that. That the
Yeah.
master swordsman, boom, just gets bowled over by the guard that charges at him. And there is a certain reality to that. I hear other fighters in the HEMA classes that I attend talk about that kind of thing a lot. About
Have you
how,
heard
like,
the
sometimes the most dangerous opponent is an inexperienced one who will just charge at them and they don't know how to respond to it.
the Mark Twain quote, or it might be apocryphal, but I've always heard it attributed to Mark Twain that the best swordsman in the world doesn't have anything to fear from the second best swordsman. It's the fool who doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Uh, like you don't know that you're not following any of the rules and making all the mistakes and what, no, you shouldn't be doing that. I can stab, oh, you stabbed me while I was standing here confused at what you were trying to do.
Yeah, and I think the whole they were fighting for an hour also gives a good out for why these two
Exactly.
guards were able to would have been able to capture these two if Maid Marian hadn't been playing sniper from the bushes at the time.
Yeah, she one, she really disparages Little John, who apparently has the lightest draw bow in the Merry
Oh,
Men.
Will Scarlet, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. I thought she was taking Little John's.
No, no, it was
Okay.
Will's. And yeah, it fits for this version of Will Scarlet.
This, and I will say one thing that really has helped me in my modern viewing of Robin Hood. Color really helps because they always put Will Scarlet in Scarlet, and I'm just like, they just keep calling him Will. Is it Will Stutely? Is it which
Hmm.
Will are we talking about? It took a little while before they actually said Scarlet, and I'm like, this would have been easier if you were just wearing red. Uh, but he does boast, and if we were doing my favorite bit of banter, when Will tries to rob Boland, he's like, "Well, I'm the best swordsman in Sherwood," and Boland just goes, "Good," and then attacks him because it's just like, "Oh,
Good.
hey,
Yeah, yeah.
somebody who's worth fighting."
Yeah, Michael Goff does an amazing job in this episode, and he plays a really interesting character who has a certain sort of honor and code and kind of hits a breaking point with the deputy sheriff, but also at the same time is just like, yeah, this guy's an outlaw and I'm gonna collect the bounty until he finally has too much of the deputy sheriff's nonsense.
Which I can understand as like, "Hey, I've been off on crusade until I've been honorably discharged." He points that out a few times,
Right?
which
Which felt like a very modern line.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't think that's how the Crusades worked. It was a a call of conscience, and like when you were done, you were just done. But then again,
Well, I
we've
mean,
seen people get drafted into the
if you were
Crusade.
in a knight in the service of some other lord,
You
you
might have been
would
brought
need to
along,
be discharged in some sort of way. The phrase honorable discharge just has a very modern meaning that would not have existed.
right? But this is making me think of the somebody in the Discord was just asking for pictures of the draft notice from the 2018.
Right. Yeah.
But if I was off on crusade and then I arrive back in London and I hear about this horrible, outlaw, harassing people in Sherwood, am I going to take Will and Robin's word for it?
Yeah.
No, I'll keep heading to Nottingham and
Mhm.
then it's only when I see like, oh no, things are actually really bad here. Maybe he's kind of got a point.
Yeah, and there is a bit there where he has reason to think that Robin is dishonorable
Right.
because he and Robin have this one-on-one duel that's just the two of them, and Robin has said that they're just alone and ordered his men to not follow him, but Maid Marian had been like, whatever, I'm not one of his men.
Mm-hmm.
I am no man, and shows up and kind of helps cover him to protect him at the end. But he didn't ask for that. But Bolin doesn't know that he didn't ask for that. He doesn't know it isn't one of his men, so he thinks Robin is dishonorable in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I thought worked pretty well. What's your overall? I mean, so you've only have N of one. You've only seen the one episode. There's quite a lot of episodes of the show. But
Mm-hmm.
what is your overall feelings about this show, this version of Robin Hood and the Merry Men?
I thought it was 1950s fun. It is in line with some of the other like it wouldn't have felt out of place with like some of like watching this and then an episode of Zorro and then, a 1950s Western or something. Those would have all probably felt about the same, where it's, hey, I know all of my main characters will be here at the end of the episode. I know that even though Boland is like, yes, I'll join your team. I'm never seeing Boland again. He
No.
is always this side of the camera when they're just, referencing to you and all of the other men. It's like, I understand how 1950s TV works, but it was not giving me, sometimes it's refreshing to not get the gritty, which is
Yeah.
a thing we've actually talked about a lot in the Discord, where it feels like we are now 40 years into this isn't your father's Robin Hood. Like, we're going to make it real by making it dark and sad and grimy. And it's like, okay, people were still happy and wore colors. Famously, they were all wearing green. No,
Sometimes
they have to wear
actually it
brown.
is sometimes it actually is nice to go and revisit your grandfather's Robin Hood.
Yeah. And so this this is fun because it felt kind of in line with the book we are currently reading for book club.
Mm-hmm.
We're reading Robin's Country,
Yeah.
which that is a very, very, I don't even think it's a young adult novel. That is just, I think it's just a children's chapter book.
Yeah, kind of somewhere in between those two.
Yeah.
A
Where
step
it's,
above Magic Treehouse, but definitely a couple steps below the Hunger Games.
yeah, it's the sort of thing where I wouldn't feel bad having my 6-year-old son read it for nighttime bedtime, like his reading practice.
Yeah, as
And
long as you're comfortable with there being character deaths in it,
yes,
but
uh,
they're all handled in a sensitive way.
yeah, and not a lot of it. And so it sort of felt like, hey, this is a nice, fun Saturday morning adventure show. I would watch another episode of this. This is the sort of thing that I absolutely like. If one of the streaming services just had the Adventures of Robin Hood channel and you just push play and an episode is playing, like
Hmm.
that would be a fine thing to have on in the background while I'm painting miniatures or doing something else.
Yeah, it is a delightful show to just kind of be able to pop one on every now and then and watch.
It is not nourishing. It is not deep,
Yeah.
but
No,
it's fun.
yes, not deep, but fun and mostly very self-contained. I provided a little bit of context there for you about, oh, what the deal is with the deputy sheriff here in the fourth season. And every now and then you get some kind of little arc, like, oh, there's a couple episodes where Robin Hood goes to France or something. But even then, each of the individual episodes are still pretty self-contained. You would just be a little bit like, oh, why is Robin Hood in France? Okay, well,
Yeah.
whatever. So it definitely has that old style. We're not doing extended arcs. This is the first episode of the show you've probably ever seen, and it's from towards the end of the run, late in the fourth season, and you're just like, yeah, I can watch this, and like, yeah, this is Robin Hood, and he's doing Robin Hood things. Got it.
Yep. I am curious. Do you know offhand how old is our Robin in this show?
Oh, how old would Richard Green have been at this point? He in the 30s was starting to make a name for himself. So he was definitely at that age where, so this is 10 years post World War II. So he was definitely old enough to have been serving and very active in World War II.
So he was
Um,
born in 1918, and this was 56.
this one would have been about 60,
Oh, okay.
59, 60 when this one first aired. In fact, IMDb tells me it aired October 8th, 1960.
Okay, so he would have been in his early 40s. And that is one of those like
Yeah, and he looks it. But like
he
a good looking youthful kind of 40s.
he is definitely a guy like it is one of those things where it's just like okay, it's like the late 50s, early 60s. This could be a 30-year-old man who is just like and he smokes 7 packs of cigarettes a day and like lives next to a leaded gas factory. Like sometimes you're surprised by how young people are. So him actually being 42, I was just curious because it's one of those things where it's like what is your ideal age for a Robin Hood?
For me, it depends. If it's going to be a something like this, where we're dropping us into the action where he is established as Robin Hood for a while, for a time, anywhere in the 30s or 40s sounds fine to me. one thing that I like about the Men of Sherwood Forest with Don Taylor is it says he's been Robin Hood for 10 years. He seems like he's about in his 40s, and that feels pretty fine. If it's going to be this is Robin Hood when he's becoming Robin Hood, anything much past the late 20s feels weird, which is one of the things that always felt wrong to me about both the Kevin Costner Prince of Thieves and the Russell Crowe, because it's
Hmm.
like, he's becoming Robin Hood, and it's like, he seems awfully old for becoming Robin Hood.
Yeah, I don't want to see him 10 years from now, like, still chasing the sheriff. And it's like, man, you're 50. You shouldn't be doing this. Oh, dang. Okay. I was just, as part of my Googling this, I was like, he was in the Sword of Sherwood Forest, and Peter Cushing played the sheriff.
Yep.
That's sweet.
Yep.
Uh,
Unfortunately, and not as sweet as you want it to be.
oh man, a movie with Peter Cushing and Oliver Reed isn't good.
It is. So we have
It's about
covered that
half of
one.
their filmographies, where you're just like, oh, this should be. Oh no,
Yeah, we've covered the Sword of Sherwood Forest on the
I've,
podcast,
I've
and
probably listened to it then. It didn't spark to memory.
yeah, and I think that speaks a lot of the movie. It mostly is a very forgettable movie. It would rank pretty low on our like list of Robin Hood movies if we were to be ranking them best to worst. But mostly because it's forgettable, mostly because it's a lot of like the plot's convoluted. It's just kind of a lot of eh.
Is this in
Um,
any way connected to the show? Like, is this their capstone to the show, where it's just, oh,
nope.
hey, we're making a Robin Hood movie. How about we cast
Yep.
Robin Hood in
That's
Robin
the
Hood?
guy who played Robin Hood. Yep. So we haven't been ranking all of the movies, but we have been ranking all of the Robin Hoods, and Richard Green shows up on the list twice. Once for the show and once for the Sword of Sherwood Forest movie, and he is significantly lower. Not like
Yeah,
towards the bottom, but much lower on the Sword of Sherwood Forest for the film than he is for the show. For the show, he's quite near the top.
and I did appreciate his, like, he still had the puckish quality of, like, hey, no, I want this guy to join me, and I want him to join me because he likes me, and I
Hmm.
want him to join me because he's good.
He's puckish, but he's also really honorable,
Yeah,
and being honorable is super important to him. Yeah, he's just a good Robin Hood.
yeah. So I enjoyed the heck out of this.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately,
And
this
out
is
of
a
the
difficult episode to find, but there are a lot of earlier episodes of the show that can be found on YouTube or like archive TV.
and out of the three things I've watched as part of this series, this is easily the best. Uh,
Yes, I would rate this above Tales of Robin Hood or Wolf's Head. Very different than Wolf's Head, though.
oh yeah,
Wolf's Head is trying to do something very different, so it's hard to compare them directly.
but I mean, even the sword fighting is leaps and bounds better.
Yeah, that was one of
And
the
I'm
big
sure they had
complaints
a
about
lot
Wolf's.
more money in Wolf's Head.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that is the thing about this episode in this in terms of the sword fighting is does it look like choreographed stage fighting? Yes. Is it a very later style? Looks very kind of late Renaissance fencing style instead of something that feels properly late 12th century, which is
Oh yeah,
when sort of takes
nobody
place.
has an arming sword in this. They've all got foils, and it's just
Yeah.
nobody has a buckler. Like, if you just gave one person a buckler, I would be the happiest person.
Yeah, so the style is wrong. It still looks choreographed, but it's not choreographed in a way that looks obviously terrible. The sword fighting is for a TV show quality fine. John Arnett, Richard Green, Michael Goff, they don't look embarrassing when they're holding their swords. They look like they know how to swing them. They look confident. They look capable. Yeah.
Do you get the head chop in a duck where the cut was above where you were standing to begin with? Yes. But it's a TV show. They were doing this in a week, and for a 24-minute TV show where 7 minutes of this one was sword fighting,
Hmm.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and while not the most amazing sword fighting, I never felt checked out by the sword
No.
fighting, and they had enough moments that were like, "Oh, that actually is a cool move," that it was fun to watch.
Or at the very least, like, hey, they're doing 7 moves in rapid succession instead of the like tick, 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 tick. Where it's like clearly you learned this at a very slow pace. We never picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, they did make some effort to pick it up. They actually rehearsed their fights.
Which, weekly release schedule, like, hey, you made the time. I'm hats off to you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So this was episode 21 out of how many episodes did they have that season? I think it was a slightly shorter season than some of the earlier ones. 26 episodes. So, yeah, it's a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's one of the shorter ones. Season 3 had 40 episodes.
Man, do you remember when TV used to have like more than 10 episodes every season and you could get a season every year?
Sometimes for good and sometimes for ill. As much as I love Star Trek and I love the original Trek and Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, sometimes I honestly wish that those were like 12 episode seasons instead
Yeah,
of
but
22 episode seasons.
sometimes though the episodes where it's clearly we're just playing in the space because we got time, yeah, sometimes that gets you a an episode where it's like clearly they just didn't know what they're doing this week. And okay, what happens if they're stuck on a train that's actually a sentient creature? But then sometimes you get, well, how about they play baseball against Vulcans? And that's the best episode of that season of Deep Space Nine.
And that episode has been brought up on this show that's not about Star Trek before.
It's because it's great.
Well, and no, and that's actually a really good point because when you have that kind of schedule, it sometimes really encourages you to develop episodes around other characters. So
Oh, yeah.
there's episodes of this show that can be very Marion centric, episodes of the show that can be very Friar Tuck centric, and it's like, okay, we're like doing something else with Little John, or we're giving that actor a break, or we're giving Richard Green a break. Let's focus on Friar Tuck for an episode. And it makes that world end up feeling a little bit more fleshed out, makes those characters feel a little bit more fleshed out. It's one of my big problems with a lot of the more modern Robin Hood shows, like the 2006 one. Like, I just never felt like I got to know most of the Merry Men, even though the show lasted 3 seasons.
Yeah. Like, and I will say I liked this Marion.
Hmm.
They gave her actual stuff to do and she had her own motivations. And yeah, she wasn't listening, like she was actively going against Robin's wishes, but one, she shot the bow fantastically. And
Hmm.
when Robin's getting called out by the deputy sheriff, she shows up, she already knows, and she's just like, hey, don't do this, you're stupid. He's like, no, but I have to. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. I liked her a lot in this episode. She's not like a central character. The plot doesn't revolve around her, but she still has some really nice moments. We get to see her and Robin making out in the forest a little bit after she's
Yeah.
kind of rescued him. But she even shoots an arrow at Robin to stop him from doing something stupid.
Yes.
And also, like, we see her show up later to bring news to them, which means that even though we're 4 episodes into the series, like, they really committed to that bit of Marion is this noble woman, but who is this ally and acts as this go-between, feeding information to Robin. And like, they gave her a real significant role, and she has that role throughout the whole series.
Oh yeah, she's probably the third or fourth most like speaking lines of any character in this episode.
Hmm.
Uh it's
Yeah,
probably
she's a
close.
really important and vital character throughout
Yeah.
the whole show. Even in an episode that's not about her, she's still part of the crew. No, this show, like, it is honestly one of my favorite versions of Marion. They do an excellent job with her. This was Patricia Driscoll, like I mentioned before. Bernadette O'Farrell played her in the first two seasons, and maybe it's because I saw her first, but I really like Bernadette O'Farrell in the role. But Patricia Driscoll also does a great job. Yeah,
Oh,
we didn't
and
get to see
yeah,
Tuck was there. We didn't get to see a lot of him. We got to see
she
a
did
little
at
bit.
one point call him father though, and I'm like, but he's a friar. That's a different thing. Like, but that was just me being pedantic.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of Little John here too. So even when they're not being getting major roles or major development in this case, they still did a good job. It's nice to see
And
them.
Little John got a fun thing like, yeah, I know where Boland went. I challenged him to a fight at the Blue Boar Inn, and then, oh, what happened? And he pulls his quarterstaff into two parts, and he's like, I lost. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I like that take of Little John where it's like, I'm gonna hold my quarterstaff together so I can do a bit. Uh,
Yes.
I want to
Yeah.
believe that that was a conscious choice.
Yeah. The very in keeping for these characters. I'm gonna hold on to something because I'm gonna do a bit. Yeah, well, thanks for joining me, Ben. I'm glad that you enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, thanks
Um,
for inviting me to something that didn't get canceled.
yeah, no, it was a very popular show. Yeah, we'll have to bring you on again for something sometime soon. I'm not aware of any other failed pilots on the docket, but maybe I can dig one up for you.
Well, I look forward to it. Regardless of if it's a failed pilot or not, it doesn't have to be.
Oh, okay, good to know. Good to know. All right, thanks, Ben. You
Yep,
have a good night.
you too.